Hey everyone, and welcome to Coffee with a Cane, brought to you by the University of Miami Alumni Association. My brother Philip and I are your hosts. We run an Instagram account called Beyond South Beach, where we highlight everything in Miami that's not in South Beach, from restaurants and bars to history and architecture. I graduated from the University of Miami in 2015 from the double major in broadcast journalism and English. And we're joined by local breweries who are also alumni of UM. So, Carlos, do you want to start and introduce yourself? And then we'll just go around.
Hi, I'm Carlos Padron, owner of the Tank Brewing Company. I'm a UM graduate, December of '86 in accounting, and law degree in 1990. Thank you for having us and hosting us, and for you guys, everything. Well, UM for everything they're doing, putting this together, and for what you guys do for Miami. You and your brother do a great job all the time promoting all the stuff that goes around Miami.
Thank you.
I'm Lance Ashelman. I'm a partner at Unbranded Brewing Company. I went to University of Miami from 2012 to 2017 and finished my PhD in philosophy there a couple of years ago, and joined up at Unbranded Brewing Company. Happy to be here for the discussion. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Juan Onan from Nightlife Brewing Company. I'm the president and founder of it. I went to University of Miami in 2010 through 2012 and graduated with a BA in psychology. So that was fun.
You took a turn there. Alan, you want to go next?
Yes, my name is Alan Espino, president and co-founder of Beat Culture Brewery. I started my master's in microbiome at UM. Also, my brother, co-founder of Beat Culture Brewery, he did undergrad in political science at UM. A few of our partners are alumni, ticket member holders. We're a big UM family here.
Woohoo! Awesome. Well, I guess to start, what's in everyone's coffee cup? I've got Freedom Tower in mine.
Oh,
woo!
Cheers! Cheers! Cheers!
I guess to start, what is your favorite memory of being on campus?
I could tell. I guess I'll start if you want. Only because I think I'm the oldest one here. Maybe it could be, but you know, we were talking about it earlier amongst us. We love the old Rathskeller, right? I'm not to say we don't want to knock the new one, but the old Rathskeller was a great place, right? And for me, when we started as a freshman, I remember our schedule was like you had a class at 8, and then the last class at 5. And I remember Budweiser would go in that area by the pool. I don't know if it has a name, and they would kind of give out free beer back then, right? Something that not really done nowadays, but that was always fun on Fridays, right? It was just a great environment, hanging around with the Rathskeller, and obviously, in my world, football games at the Orange Bowl, right? You couldn't beat those, right?
Yeah, I think you win with the Orange Bowl. A lot of nostalgia there. For me, it was the gym and getting schooled by professors in the racquetball courts.
Oh, cool.
I never really got to experience any great football memories during my tenure, unfortunately. But no, I still get to go around campus. My favorite memories are the memories I have now. I still go about every weekend with my wife and my little boy, and we walk around that sort of secluded paradise and just, you know, have like picnics every now and again. I still love going there every weekend.
Yeah, I mean, I can't top that. I mean, taking your kid to UM, that's awesome. But it's definitely the first day of walking onto campus, you know, crossing that bridge right next to the pool and looking over and remembering like, okay, so I swam here as a kid for the Sea Cats and then registering for classes. You know, it was awesome because 3 months prior to that, I was in Afghanistan and then came back and then immediately went into school. So it was a great transition, and it was a great was a great time. Great time.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't that long ago for me, but I definitely miss getting drinks at the Rats, Keller, so much. Getting the chicken tenders, the best. I just like, before we keep going, I just want to say that anybody who's watching, you can submit any questions that you have and we'll ask them. So, Philip, you wanted to ask something?
I'll tell you the thing. I'm going to jump in a second. I know it's great when you're walking your small kids, but having graduated 3 kids from UM, it also hurts when they're older, right? When you're paying the tuition there. So get ready.
All right.
Sell
Yeah.
a lot of beer, okay?
The pain's about to come. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. I'm proud that 3 of the 5 and probably the 4th will be going there. But we got my son Carlos. They know him Kaki. He graduated from there, and so did my daughter. And I have a junior there now. So,
Wow.
Sometimes when you walk campus, it hurts a little bit more now.
Die-hard Canes over there. That's awesome.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So,
My brother kind of messed it up when he didn't go to UM, but whatever.
I went to So, kind of talking about the what we're all going through right now. How have you guys adapted as breweries to the spread of COVID-19 and what are some of like innovative approaches you guys are going? You guys are still allowed to drink your beer.
I think for a lot of breweries, much like myself and even the guys here, package is key, right? Draft beer is kind of dead now, so we have to resort to formats like 16-ounce cans, 12-ounce cans, smaller format bottles, so that we could move volume, and most importantly, online sales, which was kind of like uncharted, territory throughout the whole country. That it just seemed to be for us, it seemed to be a really easy transition that allowed us to move volume on a controlled, stable environment.
Nice.
Yeah.
What about unbranded and light?
From our end, the key has been keeping our employees going, right? So we 80% of our sales were keg products. So imagine that's all pretty much gone, right? Because it's restaurants and bars that all closed down. So we do have 20% package, but luckily we've done our team. Keeping everybody employed, all our tipped employees, we increased, their hourlies, and they're all doing deliveries. And I think all of us, everybody here on this line, I mean, I think it's kind of surprising how well I think we've all adapted and quickly went through it. And now those tipped employees, that's what they're doing nowadays. They're making deliveries, right? So we're kind of happy that everybody's still employed. Everybody's still getting a paycheck over there. So we just need it to end sooner rather than later, right? Because it's rather costly.
So you can call the tank and get anything delivered from the tank, from beer?
Yes,
Directly?
I think we're going out like 10 miles was what we said, but sometimes a little bit more. And I think from all, I think a lot of the breweries we're doing the deliveries now.
And are you guys using like a digital platform for this, or are they calling you? What's the process like to be able to put in an order?
Yeah, in our case, I think they go on the website. They could also go through Instagram, and I think Square did a great job at being able to let us adapt very quickly to do that, right? The guys at Unbranded, you guys are doing deliveries too, right?
Yeah, we're doing takeout and delivery. We, just like everybody else, had to move most everything online. You can order takeout, delivery either through the website or through the Insta bios and all that. But we're lucky. I don't know what kind of point of sales you guys are working with. Ours integrated pretty quickly and easily. The front of house people did a nice job getting that set up pretty quickly, and we've been sort of off and running. But yeah, we're doing deliveries. We've sort of slowly started to expand our radius a little bit, but yeah, it's been interesting to try to implement all of that.
Yeah, the deliveries are really great because obviously being able to take out is great too, but you're contributing to someone's salary when you get delivery, especially when it's direct or only when it's direct. So
yeah. Yeah, in our case, we're also giving like 20% of all those beer sales. We're giving it to them, to the tip staff, whoever the tip staff that's working. They're all getting that. So we got to get them through. I mean, it's honestly, from a brewery perspective, they're the ones who take the hardest hit right now, because they're used to working on tips. They're used to working different hours. So we you know imagine the number of people that are like that from the restaurants, right? And we heard about the Versailles and the Joe Stone crabs, but there's a lot of smaller restaurants out there too, right? It's hard.
Yeah.
Right.
So we actually got a question. We got a question from Emmanuel. I feel like I'm a radio host, but he asked, "What is your vision for your business post coronavirus?" It's a really good question. Right? I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
I mean, at least. I mean, I talk a lot, by the way, so guys, shut me up, right? But our vision is, it's eventually going to come back to normal, guys. I mean, it's we don't know when, right? We were talking about that all earlier. When is that going to happen? It's not going to be a light switch that's going to be back to normal immediately, right? But we've all invested, at least everybody I know on this call, and all the other local breweries that are out on this call, they've all invested a lot in developing this brand and bringing and developing this in this culture, which is good for tourism, good for Miami. Branded just opened up in Hialeah, which is awesome. They have a big, huge space, right? I think doing a great job. Big culture as well. We like those guys. We're out here a little bit out in the West, so we're we're trying to go, and then you got nightlife, right? So by the stadium. So it's all, we've all put in a lot of work, a lot of hours, and I don't think we're not going to let it go, right? We're going to come back and continue employing the people that we do, and making great beer is what I think is going to happen, right? And we'll get through this.
Yeah.
It's just one long big hurricane is what we're going through. A hurricane and we still have power and AC, right? But that's the way I like to look at it.
You think online sales and delivery, or maybe just online sales in general, will be something that you're going to continue doing and have running after this all kind of goes away?
If you think about it, that depends really on the state. Right now, why we're getting away with that is because we need to be able to function as a company, and our industry is hurt really hard. We're kind of in an awkward position as an industry, because at least in Florida, because our tap room is closed or supposed to be closed, and our main avenue of revenue has been shut down, which are bars and restaurants. So how is it? And we're allowed to still be open because we're a manufacturer. We manufacture beer. So how is it that we are actually supposed to draw in revenue from that? Well, right now the easiest fix is through drive-through or online delivery or online orders. But if you look at it, it's kind of a gray area, and this whole thing is kind of thrown into the question as to how, at least in my mind, how is it that the state can justify such stringent restrictions on how we can operate as a company or as an industry, and basically allow them to choke us out of existence. All the smaller ones are going to have, all the smaller breweries, and I'm on the small side too. We're all finding that our revenue streams are significantly decreased, and it's hurting us. So it's going to be interesting to see how the state adjusts to it and what regulations come out from this, or what we can combat.
Do you think that new breweries that are opening up, I know there's a lot of tap room focus because that's where you're going to be making most of your margins and your revenue. Do you think that moving forward, like any new breweries opening up, will have stronger plans for distribution and that kind of growth versus focusing on the tap room because of this?
So, okay, the problem is that if anything, this has reinforced the fact that we need tap rooms even more. the reliance on the distributors is great because that's how companies grow. That's how Tank is able to do what they do, and hopefully one day myself and Unbranded reach that point as well. That's what we strive for. That's what we all want to do. We all want to grow. I mean, Beat Culture wants to grow as well, right? But we definitely need the focus to be on the tap room. I mean, and we need looser restrictions, at least from the state level, on what we can do in our tap room, so we can bring business in and really help the business grow. Because with the reliance on the distributors, anything like this will shut us down. And the smaller ones, you don't have any bargaining power with the distributor. You have no say in what you can't do. How is it you want to see your kegs allocated? Like, you can't get out of your contract without a major buyout or without breaking removing your brand from the state for like 3 years or something like that. And that's a kiss of death for any brand. So, this is anything, if I'm taking away anything, it's going to really be the reliance on the tap room and making sure I get as much business through there as possible, as quickly as possible once this is done.
Quick question. So, and this goes for all you guys. Like, so before, the stay-at-home order and the really big lockdown, right? I read that there was a lot of like liquor sales. Diageo reported 2 times over their New Year's Eve sales. Did you guys experience that influx right before you guys closed your doors? Like a stocking behavior to get a bunch of beer?
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but I definitely saw a spike in my distribution sales, like heavily in January and February, like a massive spike. And I just remember sitting in the brewery going, okay, so we need to make way more beer. And then all of a sudden this happens and I'm sitting on all the beer that I made. So good times. But
we saw a spike too, but it was more speculative on the idea that businesses are doing other initiatives in order to keep their lights on. Restaurants are now selling packaged product versus on-premise consumption. Some people might be stashing away for the quarantine stash, but realistically the spike that we saw was kind of like that pivot towards businesses having product available to sell, as well as food to go, delivery, and all that.
Yeah, talking about food, I heard you guys were giving away food to individuals that in need during this pandemic. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes. So when we first started hearing about the orders of shutdown and non-essential, essential, all that going on, especially with the idea of tasting rooms and dining rooms being shut down, we started offering free food for those who work in the industry or just anybody who's been impacted by the industry. So by the pandemic. So that means even elderly folks, pretty much anybody. So we were cranking out food. Really, as long as we can, as long as we had product, as long as we had raw materials, and it went well. It was a lot of fun when we can. But realistically, it's just much like our tasting room. It wasn't sustainable anymore until we actually ran out of product. But yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot of rewarding. Channel 7 helped us promote it. A lot of different avenues helped us promote it, and it was fantastic.
Awesome, man. It's great you guys did that.
So we can take it back a little bit and talk about how you all got started in the brewery business. What made you want to start brewing beer?
Oh man, you got like 3 hours?
What's that?
You got like 3 hours? I'll do it in a nutshell. So for me, I studied microbiology with hopes of eventually working in breweries. So this was back in 2003, but there was really no work. There was absolutely nothing. So with that in mind, I jumped into veterinary medicine and human pathology around that time, hoping that just pay ends meet, and that'll be my job, with a vision of maybe someday open a beer bar that kind of scratches that itch and all that. But realistically, just kind of continuing down that path of pathology, infectious disease research, a little bit of congenital malformation in newborn babies was like my niche. And then eventually, after painfully raising about 10 years of work to find capital money, we were eventually able to start it, right? So it's a lifelong passion, that identifying that it is a viable business, as long as you're willing to work. Everybody could attest here. It's not like a rock star. You put a song out there and the millions start coming in. It is grueling work. It is demoralizing. It is also very, very uplifting. The highs are high, but the lows are freaking low. That's with any startup, any business. So you gotta have a certain amount of tenacity and appreciation and willing to kind of go down this somewhat masochistic route. But it's for those that really care and that really want it. And I'm one of those idiots.
I loved that. That was that's a hard one to come up. Sorry for the next person.
No, having opened this business about a month ago, I'm starting to wonder why I opened it up in the first place, to be honest.
No.
No, I mean, on our side, I mean, Zach and I loved homebrewing. That's really what got started for us down this path, and Zach had even made that jump even before I did. We both love homebrewing. We both love the idea of being able to create almost anything, and beer is just that kind of beverage, you know. So we just love the creative part of it, and sort of started thinking more seriously about making a business out of it. And this was even back 6-7 years ago. We were talking about these things, and he jumped ship and started things up, and he gave me an opportunity to become partner, and I had to choose between an academic career and helping start the business, and I chose the business side, and it's been sort of one of the more fun, rewarding, frustrating decisions I've made, but it's all worth it. And I know once we get through all this COVID business, you know, we'll be back at it. So it's kind of our story over here anyway.
Yeah. Can't wait for that. Kwan, what about you? What made you start?
So
I know you're in the Army, so you've got quite a story.
yeah, so like I mentioned, I 3 months prior to me going to University of Miami, I was in Afghanistan. For those of you guys who don't know, I served for 5 years in the airborne infantry. I deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. I deployed to Iraq right at the height of the surge in 2006. And my first 36 hours or 48 hours in country, I had been shot at and blown up, and it was an interesting time. It was a good
Wow.
growth experience. So when I got out and I started going back to school, it's the transition to civilian life is really, really hard. It's harder than I can't really describe how hard it is, because you're going from a position of being focused with a bunch of group of people on the same goal. You're serving a bigger goal than yourself, and you're worried about not yourself coming back home safe, but your brother in arms next to you, and that's your mission, is to get them home. And so you go from that to all of a sudden nothing, and you know, you're stressed out, you don't know what to do, you're lost. And I was searching for something to bring some peace to my life, and I, you know, like all great ideas or really bad ones, they typically start at a bar. So I was with a buddy of mine, what was then called Cervezas. I hope all of you guys remember that bar. That bar was awesome. It was down the street from
that bar.
Oh yeah, Sunset Place. Oh yeah.
God,
I
it was
wish I knew that bar.
So I was having a Mondacito Red Tail, and I looked at him and I said the things that no one should ever say. I think we should do this. I think we could make some beer. And he looked at me and goes, I got you covered. Show up at my house at 12. So I showed up the next day at his house, and the rest is history. I mean, for the first time since I'd been home and going back to school, I mean, I felt a measure of peace and balance in my life, and I fell in love with the process. And after that, you know, in 2012, I was faced with the decision of either going for my PhD in psychology or, you know, doing something else. And I decided to take a hobby and turn it into a business, which for everybody watching, do not do. Do not do. If you love your hobby, keep it a hobby. But look, I don't regret a second of this. I don't think that this was in any way, shape, or form a mistake. I love what I do every single day, and I love seeing how the company changes. And everyone that's here can attest to it. It is amazing how just even the first few months, from the time you open to the end of the first quarter, how things have changed, how you've grown, how employees have come in or left, and you as a business leader, it's a different feel and it's a different dynamic, and it opens your eyes to a whole lot more than just, okay, well, profits everything. Granted, your shareholders, profits everything, but to you, it's a living, breathing organism that you want to take care of because it's a family. I mean, even if as a business leader and you have to take hard decisions, it's still your family, and it's still something that you help create, and everyone here can attest to that.
So I'm confused. Why not turn a hobby into a business? Sounds like
Okay.
that
So
sounds beautiful.
Okay, so I took something that brought a very peaceful, that made me go to a peaceful, serene place, and decided to inject a whole lot of stress into that place, because once you get your first check, I mean, and any of these guys know, once you get your first check from an investor, game on. They're expecting reports, they're expecting a return, they're expecting to hear from you. And if you're running a skeleton crew like I was for the first year, and to a certain extent I still am, it's very hard to be able to wear 17 different hats, manage 23 different people, and be like 23 different people. I'm talking about the shareholders, their expectations as to return. Like it transforms your hobby, the thing that helped you bring peace into your life. It transforms it into something that is bigger than that. And while you do find peace in smaller ways through it, it's no longer that loving, caring thing. It's now something that is taking over your life.
Okay. So Carlos, what about you? What made you get into beer?
I'm being told that I'm swatting too much, but as I told you guys earlier, I'm at a farm, and so for those of you guys out there, it's the damn flies in the gnats that's making me do that. Okay, so it isn't that I have a bad habit. Okay, and in my world, guys, it's really goes back to '95. I've been representing a family, the Plasencia family, in the handmade cigar sector, and I've been dealing with handmade cigars since 1995. And we find that to be an artisanal product, and probably, I don't know, it was 2012 to around there or so, maybe 13. I go to the local 150 in the Gables for lunch, and this lady hands me over a Cigar City Maduro. I was attracted to it because of the name, because being in the cigar world, and it was a great beer. And she was very passionate about the product, just like we are in the handmade sector when we describe a cigar. And started looking into it, saw that Miami was still in its infancy in that sector. I think we were the 7th production brewery out there. Spoke to the guys at FIU as well at that time, that they had a brew club over there, met our brewer, and it just kept spiraling from there. We thought that, there was a need, spoke to the guys, honestly, from Wynwood, who was one of the first ones out there, from MIA, and Jose from Biscayne. And, they kind of encouraged me, which I tell them they're responsible for my losses, because they could have told me, like, hey, get the heck out, it's expensive. But it's a good bond, and we all get along, I think, right? I mean, everybody here, one way or another, we have a connection to each other. We have, I think, Eric Eric started with us, which is brewing over now at Beat, right? Unbranded just started, and I think we've done a beer already together. So we've all done something. And Night Shift, Emily works over there, and she used to work with us in the lab department. So we all have connections, and we all help each other out. So it's a great industry, which is similar to the cigar industry. Is it tough? Without a doubt. Is it hard to make money? Yes, without a doubt, right? But and also being a 54-year-old guy, my kids thought I was kind of cool now, all of a sudden owning a brewery. A lot more exciting than being a lawyer.
It is really cool. I wish my dad was a brewer.
Yeah.
But you brought up an interesting point, because I do, at least as a consumer.
And I think we all.
Sorry, Carlos, continue. Go for it.
Yeah, no, and I said, I think it's great for the community. I mean, there's, out west, there's still very, there's not that many breweries right now here, and we're all. If you look at all the breweries that are out here right now, it's amazing that we all have a little bit something different about us, right? We're all making good quality beer, I think, but there's something different about the vibes or stories, and I think that's what makes it unique, and I think that's what helps the city of Miami, whether city of Miami, city of Hialeah, let's just call it Miami-Dade County. It helps the community overall, part of the tourism. I mean, I'm sure all you guys, we all get X amount of tourists all the time, coming through our place, and it's great. I think it's great for the community, and we all employ, a good amount of people, right? And so it's cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. So since this is a coffee chat, does anyone have any coffee flavored beer?
Yep, right here. We have a Colada Racing, which is our Imperial Stout with coffee aged in bourbon barrels. We got our coffee from Perla. I don't know if you know Paul and Chris down in Perla. They're in South Miami. They run circles around a lot of coffee producers, extraordinary stuff. So yeah, it's Imperial Stout, about 11%. We cold press it with Kenyan coffee. So we get a lot more of that sweetness from it. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. And you put it in a coffee cup so that people don't think you're an alcoholic.
Perla, fun fact, they're grads too.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. And Lance, I think you were gonna hop in there too, right?
Yeah, I'm not really disguising it with a mug or anything, but we have we call it a Biscotti Espresso. It's also an Imperial Stout, not quite as big as Allen's. It's a little bit over 8%, but it's got Guatemalan espresso beans. We did a cold press as well, and we added maple syrup, almond, and vanilla reduction to it, so it kind of gives it that biscotti sort of sweetness and nutty flavor that goes along with that. So yeah, it's good for an afternoon drink.
That sounds fire, man.
Yeah, it really does. Sounds a little sweet, but
thank you.
Coffee-ish, yeah, that's great. So, Alan, I heard you also have a beer made out of pastelitos.
Yes, we teamed up with.
That sounds wild.
We teamed up with Vicky Bakery, and yeah, we curated a Guava Pastelito forward milkshake IPA. So like the idea was, what can we curate with something that it's already kind of like iconic, and there's some things you shouldn't mess around with. Ham croquetas and guava pastelitos, they don't need to be modified. They're like a good steak. Just don't put sauce on it. Like, it's good the way it is. So like, what can we do to not overpronounce it or kind of not spotlight it, but to kind of maybe just accentuate it in a different way? And that's what we did. Guava pastelito milkshake IPA. So we use lactose, a little bit of vanilla, a lot of guava. We actually did throw in some guava pastelitos for special effect as well, and it was fun. Yeah, that was part of our first canning run that we did, and we might have like 10 cases left. I think we're just short of a little bit left in inventory. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yo, so can we get a round?
Yeah, you can.
So we have another question from Keith. He asks, in the wake of social distancing and the possibility of our collective lives changing post-coronavirus, do you all envision working together as a group to get people motivated to get out and be social again?
Yeah, I mean, look, all of us here, we're all very social people. We like going out to the different breweries and going to each other's breweries and going to each other's festivals. Part of the brew scene is to be a community, is to go out and hang out with other people for a shared common experience over awesome beer. And I, for one, would love to go ahead and work with every single one of you guys here and push that. Because the worst part is that, yes, this is a serious thing, but the after effects, I really don't want to see people become more sheltered and more afraid of going out and hanging out with their friends than they should be. You got to respect it, just don't fear it. Go out, have a good time, enjoy life again. That's part of what we bring to the table. Breweries make products to help people enjoy life.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think my point is that the industry has always been camaraderie and not competition before any pandemic issue that's impacted us, right? So I really don't see any reason why this camaraderie can't continue. And just, we need to be a little bit more creative. Again, it comes down to, if you open up a brewery, you know what it takes to open up a brewery. It's not a turnkey and then it's all done, right? If you could tolerate and you could stand through all this, operating and surviving this is no problem. I think there is a lot of opportunity. It's easy to focus on all the negative drawbacks, but I think the opportunity is monumental.
Oh my God, there's a goat in the. We better. Carlos, does he want your beer? You're on mute. We can't hear you.
I don't know how to do that. Let me see.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
Do you hear me?
You gotta make beer
Do you
for
hear
goats.
me or no?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I think we already all help each other out all the time, right? We do stuff together. Like in September, we're gonna have the South Florida craft beer run, and I'm hoping that's still gonna go on. That's our 5K, and all these breweries, the ones that are here, and all the other ones will be there as well, right? So I think we all help each other out from our end. Yesterday we sent out emails to every single one of our distribution accounts, telling them, hey, telling them what we're doing, what's going on, and how can we work together to start reopening, right? Whichever way that's going to look, right? Is it going to be 50% occupancy? Is it going to be our tables 6 foot apart or whatever? But, so we've already called them. I know it's probably a little bit early, and told them, hey, if you want us, let's retrain your employees, your new employees. Let's look at, the kegs that you do have on there. And so that's going to be a challenge. That's a little bit of a challenge, but I'm pretty sure we all promote each other's beers, right? Because you could drink one of our beers today, tomorrow you'll be drinking an unbranded, and tomorrow, nightlife, then you'll go to Beat Culture, and that's okay, right? And we understand that that's part of the business, right? So if any one of our people in any which way talk bad about any beer, to be honest with you, it's not only craft beer, but any beer, we say no to that, right? Absolutely, that would be against it. So I think between all of us, we have done that, and I think we'll continue doing that and doing more of that as time goes on. Times will come back, right? I think we just need to be thinking positive now, right? I think all of us, right? It's hard, right?
And us, as my brother and I, as Beyond South Beach, we're definitely going to promote people going on. Any way we can help the breweries, we will. I miss a Sunday fun day at a tap room so much. So, of course, like Juan said, staying safe.
Yeah. And you guys have always done a great job promoting not only our breweries, but you've also done a great job promoting Miami and a lot of other small local businesses. So kudos for you two, and you do it in fun out there, right?
Yeah, it's been fun for sure. Alan, the people want to know about the beer you did from Ecoli Water, using Ecoli Water.
Yeah, so that was back in undergrad. So I didn't have a traditional college experience. I actually really liked studying. I was what some would consider a nerd. I really liked the subject matter a lot. Like, I just studied, and the more I would study, the more of the rabbit hole I would go down, and I was just really enamored with the subject matter. And it was a microbiology. My senior thesis was on anaerobic respiration, which is a pretentious way of saying fermentation, and what happens during that process, right? So why beer was socially acceptable to drink back during, the Renaissance era and during the Black Plague and all that, why exactly was beer being consumed even by miners and all that time. So it was more about the antiseptic qualities in the process, in the hops, and in that whole process that allowed you to drink beer without really toppling over dead. So part of that was using water that's positive with E. coli. That actually came from the pond. So it actually came from ducks' excrement, right? So it's using that water with a full malt bill. So we made a full beer using that. Before the boil, the water was obviously contaminated with E. coli. We did gel electrophoresis, all that kind of stuff. And to prove that it was positive, we obviously boil with fermenting, and then the end product, shared it with the class as well as my, like the dissertation and presentation. And then after they drank it, we purposely told them that where the water came from. So there was mixed feelings, I understand, but the point was that it's safe. It's safe. So yeah, that was really my first dabble in the start to end of the process, and which is really the inception of why I really care about this.
So here's another question. What is one creative way you're staying connected while social distancing? And with that, we invite people to use #Canes social distancing to show us how you're staying connected while social distancing. Anybody want to? Should I repeat that? As that was kind of long. How are you staying connected while social distancing?
At least for us, we started this little cheers campaign, quarantine cheers campaign on social media, in which we asked for a bunch of friends in the industry or even regulars that used to come to our brewery that we just genuinely miss. We saw them more than like I would see my family, to be honest. And we just did this virtual cheers. We cheers them, and then they send us like a virtual cheers. So like they get the glass and then they cheers to the opposite direction. And then we compounded them and did like an ongoing series of that. So it's still a way of still feeling connected.
Cool.
Also, we've been teaming up with a bunch of small businesses that we typically work with. Perla Coffee being one of them. Cow Chocolates in South Miami, where we get our chocolate from. So we team up with them to just help promote them. Like, please stay alive during this time. Like, you guys are awesome. I want your product when this is over. So we do this cross promotional thing of just not only trying to connect with people, but also keeping to connect. Just trying to connect with the businesses that we really, really like to work with, that we've become friends with, over the years of doing business.
Nice.
Anybody else staying connected or no?
Yeah, I mean, maybe on our end, I mean, we're trying to stay particularly connected with the locals here in Hialeah. We've been working closely with some local politicians, councilmen, and a state senator representing our area to try to stay connected with the community and sort of try to meet their needs. And we've separated out a couple of tanks in the tank farm to just produce hand sanitizer. And we've been doing drive-thrus for hand sanitizer pickups, and we're going to be as long as we can keep the supplies coming, we're going to be doing sort of weekly handouts. Obviously, gloves and masks and social distancing and all that still has to be very important, and that's sort of part of trying to stay connected with the local community and sort of be in it with everybody else in Hialeah. And we're trying to help as much as we can at this point.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I didn't know you were doing that. That's amazing. Yeah.
Thanks.
That's special. So we have another question. What wisdom would you give students at UM aspiring to be entrepreneurs in general?
All right. Well, so you have an invaluable resource called a Launchpad. That's where I got my start. Okay, before I graduated in 2012, I was in there with Will Silverman pretty much 3 times a week, fleshing out my idea and having them challenge me on every step of the way, from everything from the amount of products that we were going to launch with, to the pricing on them. Trust me, guys, you want to use it. You want to use the Launchpad. Do not be discouraged when they challenge your initial idea. Part of being an entrepreneur is accepting failure, picking yourself up, dusting it off, and going forward, because you're going to fail every day. There's going to be something you didn't do. There's going to be something you didn't think of. There's going to be something that went wrong. It's not what you think. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle without instructions and blindfolded. And the Launchpad helps solve a lot of it for you. So use them.
I would tell you also, has a great alumni base, right? Go ahead and contact, you could contact any one of us. I mean, if you're interested in brewing, and we'll tell you, although we say it's horrible, it's tough financially, which it is, but we'll tell you the pros and the cons, and then you can make your decisions. But in all industries, I think has a great alumni base, and they're doing even better, right? To be honest, and not that was bad before, but I know David out there's a whole bunch of people that work in the alumni, and they're trying to reconnect alumni, not only to get financial support and contributions, but just to reconnect them. And I think if I was starting out, I would certainly reach out to them. It's a lot easier nowadays, sending an email, doing something, and in any industry, and we're in a wide range of industries that could help any potential entrepreneur out there who wants to do something.
I think Carlos is absolutely right. I mean, and about the leveraging the existing networks that you have, right? And again, Carlos could probably preach this more than anybody else. Just leverage these connections. It's the ability to convert something into something valuable, right? So if you need to be talked into doing something, to becoming an entrepreneur, starting your own business, if you need somebody to tell you about it, just don't do it. So that means that there's doubt in your mind. If there's doubt, just don't do it. If you're hungry enough that the only way I see my future is by doing this exact thing, then absolutely do it. It's incredibly rewarding at the end. It's very painful in the beginning, but just keep in mind that it's trial times. But using your existing network, friends, family, everything. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to be wrong, as Juan mentioned. It happens all the time. You develop thick skin, and you get incredibly smarter on the back end.
You will fail. There's no doubt about that. There'll be failures along the way.
All right. Well, that's awesome. Thank you all so much. Let's stay positive. Keep drinking beer. And thanks for coming. Thanks for having us. Also, University of Miami alumni. This was awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you. And
so much, guys.
And guys, and everybody out there listening, visit us all. We need you guys to come and visit us when you open, and go out and see our bars and restaurants, our local businesses. Once it's open, once it's safe, and they give us, especially those of you who haven't lost any income, again, there's some people hurting out there, but the ones that haven't, and the professionals out there, come and support your local businesses.
Yeah, totally. Support local. For sure. So important right now, and always, but more right now. Got that last bit of it. So please tune in next week for the next Coffee with a Cane with alumna Tiffany from Tawdry Jewelry. Woo! All right. Have a good one.
Thank you, guys. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.